growing in my yard. Cause cops to call my lane and both my cars. Now I have to buy my pot from a teenager in the parking lot who's growing marijuana in his yard. Oh, he's growing in their yard. Hey, I can show you how, it ain't hard. Never mind the president, let's overgrow the government and all grow marijuana in our yard. Let's grow some marijuana.
Okay, here we are again doing another episode of Pot Talk, and as usual, I want to bring up the fact that too many of our brothers and sisters are sitting in jail for marijuana, and it's time for all you people out there to start putting some pressure on these politicians. We want all the nonviolent marijuana prisoners out of jail, and we don't want any more going in. And now that that's been said, and I've said it many, many times on our show, and we wish you people would get off your butts and start doing something to free these people. There's a lot of people suffering in prisons and in jails who've harmed no one. There's no victim in the marijuana, in the use or even the sales of marijuana. There are no victims. So if there's no victim, there's no crime. Why are our jails full of all these marijuana people? And the drug war in general is a racist drug war, and it was started and used racially, but the whole reason it was really started was to stop the marijuana industry. Farmers were growing it, and it was going to be a boom crop where many farmers would make a lot of money, and the big corporations like DuPont and the drug corporations and the wood paper companies saw that it was a threat to their monopolies, and they saw that instead of all the money going to just a few big corporations, it would be spread out to farmers all across this country, and they couldn't have that, so they used marijuana, the word marijuana instead of hemp, which everybody, had they started it out as hemp, people would have saw the scam.
Or cannabis?
Right, or cannabis. But they used the word marijuana, so most people didn't know what they were talking about, and they thought it was something else until it was too late. So you people out there better wake up. It's a useful medicine. It was a medicine before they started this, and they knew it, and yet the DEA put it in Schedule 1, which said has no medical value. And they knew that it was in 50% of the pharmaceutical medicines at the time. So everything that the government has told you about marijuana is a lie. Basically, almost everything that the government tells you about anything is a lie. If you believe that marijuana is really harmful, then you really believe that some airplanes crashed into the World Trade Center and the heat from that melted that steel and made that building collapse. Well, you people will believe anything that they tell you, and that's the big problem with America right now. And I want to move along to something else here. We have had this fight going on with M&N down in Manhattan about controlling the content of our shows, of public access producers' shows, having arbitrary rules to violate the producers, canceling producers' shows so that the politician could come in and use that time slot, and so many other things. Because we were complaining about this, and we have a friend, Lidya Radin, a wonderful lady, and me and Paula tried to organize the producers down in M&N to say, well, we're going to fight the injustices and the violations of our rights by M&N. So we organized a group of producers to come, and we were going to do a meeting.
No, we, a group of producers, invited all the producers who wanted to come. It wasn't closed to anybody.
Right. No. All right. It wasn't closed to anybody, and we had an agenda that we were trying to put together to take on M&N and to deal with the violations of people's rights of canceling people's shows without a fair hearing, without them being able to bring their side in, such as what's her name?
Dee Dee Halleck.
Oh, Dee Dee Halleck, and what's his name also?
Dean Lauren.
And Dean Lauren, and quite a few other producers down there.
Lydia Radin.
Lydia Radin, who've been canceled without a fair hearing. And so we were trying to do what basically the unions want to do. If they want arbitration and they want fair hearings, and that's basically what we were wanting to do and trying to put together. Well, we had a meeting, and Lydia Radin chaired the meeting and was doing a fine job of trying to organize the producers. So then, and we told all the producers at this meeting we were going to film it, and they all saw that the camera was there. And
we have proof because the camera was rolling.
Right, and we had we had the camera there, and everyone at the meeting knew that the camera was there. One lady said, "I don't want to be on camera," and sat off to the side out of the camera. But another lady who hates Paula Gloria and attacks Paula Gloria every chance she can, and all the producers down at M&N know who she is because all she does is run around and bad rap Paula. She sat in on the meeting, and she knew the camera was there, and she didn't say, "I don't want to be in the camera," and she didn't sit off to the side, and she chose to sit there, and she knew the camera was there. And then after it was all done with, she said to a few people she didn't want to be on Paula Gloria's show.
And at first I was upset because I thought this is a lot of editing for me to do. But you know what? When I did the editing and removed her, it was a much more pleasant experience.
But anyway, there was one shot where maybe her face showed up, and so then she complained to M&N.
Well, we don't know. M&N's not telling us who made the complaints. We'll
Well,
read the letter later, but
All right.
you're surmising.
We weren't told by M&N, but we know who's doing all the complaining, and we know who's trying to manipulate little groups of people to attack Paula. You know, she's got her what do I call them?
Oh, don't use that word.
Yeah, I want to use that word. I love that word.
Good, you're not remembering that word, and I'm not going to tell you.
Oh,
Shall we move on? Let's move on.
all right. But anyway,
Let me read.
Anyway, she has
Keep
her
Randy
little.
laughing. Come on, Felicia.
She
I love those reaction shots.
she has her little group of people that all now started attacking Paula, you know, and we got a letter. And then now we go to the second meeting. We were going to have a second meeting of the producers that Lydia Radin and me and Paula organized.
And especially Lydia. Lydia worked really hard, and she told everybody that at that meeting was going to be the Flint guy. Don't forget that, the Flint guy.
Okay, but
People knew it was Lydia's meeting.
it's really hard when you just
I know,
keep
I know.
jumping in.
I
and
know, but you
interrupting
might
me.
have
I get on
forgotten.
roll. You want to do the show?
No, go on. Go on. Flint.
You
Flint.
break my roll
Oh, I know,
here.
I know. So,
I love her though. I'm not putting Paula down.
not
She knocked
yet.
out my teeth. I
Not
know
yet.
better. But anyway, we were organizing a second meeting, and we decided we were going to try to get more producers, and we got in touch with more producers. And M&N was trying to sabotage this meeting. They were doing everything they could. They first attacked Lydia Radin, and wouldn't let her in, tried to say, oh, she wasn't a resident of New York, even though she had the paperwork to prove that she was a resident. They refused to look at it. One of the employees of M&N took it upon himself to evict her, or he was being told from higher up, we're not sure, but we know one of the employees at M&N told her that she could not come in and do her show, and she could not come into the building, which she was bringing in a tape from, where was it?
Flint, Michigan.
From Flint, Michigan.
From the city clerk.
From the city clerk, who was telling everybody how public access was sabotaged and destroyed in Flint, Michigan.
By Comcast.
By Comcast, right. And so Lydia was going to bring this in and play it for all the producers. But when Lydia showed up, one of the employees there decided that Lydia couldn't come in because she wasn't a resident, which is, many, many people come into M&N who aren't residents. This was just an attack on Lidya Radin. And so Paula, luckily, we were trying to get there on time, but we got caught in the traffic.
Not even on time, early.
We were trying to get there early. We should stop doing that.
No, but to videotape.
Do you wanna do the show?
No, go on. You're doing great.
Every time
I know,
I'm on a roll.
But there was something else you forgot. But go on, I'll remember and interrupt you again.
I keep her around to interrupt me.
I don't think that Lydia was already in the meeting when they took her out of the building. That's what you said. They didn't let her in. We were late, so you didn't know.
Right. No, but she was trying to get up there to organize it.
No, she was up there. And then they wanted to remove her from the room. I know because they were pulling her out when I came in.
Right.
Remember?
But I think she had just arrived.
Well, let me tell you how I remember it. There's just this part, because I was really anxious about being late, and the bus was so slow because the UN was in town. Everybody was in a foul mood because everything was snarled up. So I got off at 50th Street, walked 7 blocks to get the 57 connection, and that allowed me to get in. Exactly, I'm actually signing the book when I come in. You see my camera when I come in, it's empty. I sign in, and it's 8:40. The show, it was supposed to start at 8:30. So like I'm 10 minutes late. But granted, I wanted to be plenty early so I could get the camera set up nicely, make sure we get nice sound, and also inform people that this is the agenda of the meeting that we were planning. Lydia saw the logic of each public access producer having a copy of this and being able to show this to their audience as a responsibility that the producers have to the viewers.
And so let me jump in and interrupt her now. It's my turn.
Good.
And also, we wanted the cameras there for the protection of our rights, because we wanted everything documented, and we wanted it to protect our rights, because we knew we were up against M&N's staff and M&N, the board of directors there, which are trying to take over M&N and take it away from the public access producers. So we wanted everything on camera as our proof and as for our protection. We have a right to protect ourselves, and a camera recording what is happening is a form of protection. When you can bring it into court and show it exactly what happened on camera, it's undisputable. So that was one of the reasons that we had 2 reasons for cameras. One, so that any producer could play it on their show, because we wanted the audience, the people out there in television land, to know what's going on, to know what the complaints are of the public access producers, to know what's going on, because we believe that you, the audience, have a right to know the facts. That's one protection that we have, is when you people out there in television land know the facts. So when we were trying to do the second one, because me and Paula got there late with the camera, already they had driven Lydia out, and somehow, all of a sudden, some new person decided they were chairing the meeting. They didn't invite anybody there. They didn't know the agenda that was already set in place. And all of a sudden, when I went up there, she said, and Paula was trying to have the camera. She said, "No camera, no camera, no camera," and everybody gets 1 minute to speak. Now all of a sudden, here's this person now taking over what Lydia and me and Paula had organized. What we were doing to protect the rights of the public access producers was now being sabotaged. And the black-haired lady who I was complaining about earlier, who always attacks Paula, was instrumental in doing this, in bringing in people to fight us who didn't really know what was going on and assumed right away that they had some authority to take over this meeting and start controlling it when they didn't even know what the agenda of the thing was about, and they hadn't been to the first one. So now, because Paula came in with the camera and took some people's pictures, or some people happened to get in the camera, because she wasn't really trying to get people in the camera, but as it happened, a few people got picked up on the camera. Now, the same black-haired lady who's always attacking Paula every kind of way she can started instigating people about Paula taking pictures, and now we got letters from MNN. Why don't you...
One also thing about this meeting, there's one thing about not wanting to be on camera, but if you don't want to be on camera, don't follow the person with the camera around, because the person, I was going there interviewing other people who clearly did want to be on the camera. I mean, obviously, we're public access producers. So I just wanted to clarify that too. And again, you can hear all of this in the footage. And I had not wanted to do the editing of this, but actually when I did it, because I realized how important it was, particularly because of the vulnerability of the producers starting to fall, more and more bannings without hearings. And this is something that should be of grave concern to every person in Manhattan who wants to get reliable information, to know that such a platform of free speech is possible. Otherwise, the horrors that will ensue will be more of a prison state, more homelessness, less information about how to create real prosperity. Most certainly, lots and lots of looking away from fraud and really big issues that the community deserves to be informed about. Speaking of which, the lack of information and this way that media, left, right, and central, casts what's going on with the banks means that, our detractors are saying we didn't pay the bank money that we owed the bank. That is absolutely, you don't want to get into that part?
Not now. Let's stay on this subject.
And okay, but that's a very deep topic.
And before she reads this, I want to say to MNN, we have a right to self-protection. And that camera was there to protect our rights. And now MNN sends us a letter. Go ahead, read the letter.
This is the one to Mrs. Barton. Jeanette never calls me Mrs. Barton when I'm at MNN, but this is how she does it. We have received a number of complaints from people informing us that they did not give you permission to videotape them during a meeting at MNN on September 23rd, 2014, or to use their image in a subsequent episode of your program, Farther Down the Rabbit Hole. These complaints indicate that you did, in fact, and over their objections, cablecast their image on the episode of Farther Down the Rabbit Hole, which aired October 3rd, 2014 at 12 p.m. That's noon.
Let me jump in on that. And yes, we aired it because the public has a right to know, and we have a right to protect ourselves. And these people at the first meeting knew the camera was there and chose not to step out. If they didn't want to be filmed, they could have sat to the side and not been filmed. They didn't. They waited till it was all done, and then to sabotage the fact that, and this is a lot of sabotage going on. That's why this camera being there was important, because it shows who the real players are, who the people who really are fighting for the rights of the public access producers, and it shows that the people that are petty, that are jealous of Paula having a camera and getting her show and getting the message out to people.
I'm a convenient scapegoat. I'm not the reason.
Well, for the particular person
Okay.
that's really organized and all these people against you, and she's got her little clones that, what's the word again? I really
No, we don't
want
like that
word.
word. We don't like
I
it.
know
Okay,
you don't
let me
like
go
that
on. You
word,
wanted me
but-
to read the whole letter through. For your reference, MNN's policy on representation of authorization is as follows. And by the way,
And
Legal Eagles.
We don't need authorization to protect our rights, and that's what this was about. So MNN policies violate our rights. If we have to have authorization, that's like if a cop was beating somebody up and I want to take his picture showing that that cop is beating someone up and violating their rights, do I have to ask the cops permission to video him and say, oh, can I have your permission to show you violating someone's rights?
What are the chances you're going to get that permission?
Right.
So
No,
that-
you have a right. You have a right to protect your rights, and that's what this was about. This camera was there to protect the rights of the producers that were taking a stand against a big corporation, against big money, and against foul stuff that's going on at M&N.
Yeah, I was actually going to kind of let it sit because I didn't even edit the most juicy parts of it. But you're mixing up two different meetings. The first one was, I think, August 25th, and that's when we had kind of the deepest discussion because, after all, Lydia got to stay for that one. Dean Lauren called in on the little squeaky cell phone because they didn't let us use the beautiful, landline council telephone that would have given a much more beautiful conference experience. We couldn't call out on the line, neither could we receive a call in. But Lydia's always got her workaround solution. So she had her little cell phone, and Molly Cheshire was in Pennsylvania. She could hear it. But you couldn't project through that squeaky little, cell phone. But Dean Lauren got to get his case forward, Josh Walensky was there. Alan Steinfeld spoke really well. I mean, it was one of the best meetings I've ever had since I've been at M&N. So anyway, here, for your reference, M&N's...
Except for the black-haired lady who sat through the whole thing.
She came in later. So if she came in later, she could clearly see that we were doing a video presentation, and the person who chose to be off camera and sat next to the camera but off of it knew that the microphone was being swung around to pick up her voice, because obviously she wanted to put a whole lot of her 2 cents in on this. And this would be all very evident if I ever get around to showing it. But let's go back to this. For your reference, M&N's policy on representation of authorization is as follows. Channel users must represent that they have obtained all necessary permission for material and individuals appearing in their programs. Channel users are required to provide satisfactory evidence of such permission upon request by M&N. They might as well add, and you can only go to the bathroom once per every session.
Right. But
Shall I go on? Shall I go
even
on?
that, necessary permission, you don't need, when you're trying to protect your rights, you don't need permission. We don't need permission from M&N to video stuff that's protecting our rights. M&N's policies do not override our rights, and M&N should get that clear.
Yeah. Additionally, recent updates, again, these are updates to M&N's Code of Conduct, identifies the following behavior prohibited on M&N property. And earlier, Randy and I and Joe were talking about the days of broadcast television before you even had cable. Look at, with all of this swift new technology, cell phones, and you can talk to anybody and check into any program, and we're swimming in Wi-Fi signals, and yet the quality of connection is going down because the level of fear is going up. Why do you have to have updates to a code of conduct? And listen to what these updates are. This is outrageous.
Read both of these lines again,
Okay.
because I want to comment.
Additionally, recent updates to M&N's Code of Conduct identifies the following behavior prohibited on M&N property. Video, photo, or audio recording of any employee, user, or guest without their informed consent, any unauthorized video or audio recordings.
Okay, let me jump in on that. Now, if one of MNN's employees are violating someone's rights, so we should not be able to record that, or we should not have proof of that violation. That in itself, is against our right to protect ourselves. And it was clear that Lidya Radin was being violated by one of the employees at MNN, and unfortunately we didn't get him on camera, but I wish we had got him on camera violating Lidya, because I would have put that on my show, even if MNN was going to take me off the air for it. And then I would take MNN to court for that and say, we have a right to self-protection, and MNN doesn't have a right to stop that. And if we use a camera to protect our rights, it's better than coming in with a gun. We're not coming in with guns to protect ourselves from being violated. We're coming in with a camera to document the violation. And we have a right to do that. And MNN policies do not override that right.
And keep in mind, this is coming from an atmosphere that's built up over several years, each month, recent months getting worse and worse, of producers being banned without hearings, really esteemed people like Dee Dee Halleck, who've been producers since 1963. That sends a real shudder of fear among the community. And so you'll see that the behavior that was taking place at these meetings, particularly the second meeting, where more people felt they were going to, push their way and their will to say this shouldn't be recorded, whereas we are absolutely committed to protection by our cameras. We are not fearful of our images and what's being said. We speak from the greatest truth that we know. We feel it's very important to stand up to power with truth. And we feel that the truth has that kind of power, that a power that's violating will come around to see life will be much more pleasant for them if they do it correctly. I mean, these
and let me jump in on this too.
takes skill.
And we believe that the audience, you people out there in television land, have a right to know everything that's going on. This is public access. This is your television, your channel. This is for the public. This is for you people out there in television land, and you people should know what's going on. And when we video it and we show it to you, you know the facts. And that's what we want. We want you people to know the truth and the facts. And that's what MNN don't want you to know. And that's why they're saying, oh, you can't have this camera. You can't take these people's pictures. Well, bullshit. We're going to do it. And if you want to take us off the air, then take us off the air and we'll sue you. And I don't mind doing that. And we'll own MNN. And we'll give it back to the people who it belongs to. And to all you producers out there who sided with MNN, who sabotaged what we were doing. We were doing what we were doing in your best interest. But because of a lot of pettiness of producers out there, you chose to go and flap your jaws saying, oh, I was violated. They put me on television. Well, you know what? If you don't like it, take us to court.
At least you'll do something.
Yeah, take us to court.
We've got to get some movement somewhere, and if we have to be the targets to get your ass in gear, then so be it. Get in gear. But you see, by editing it the way that I did to show what I felt was urgently needed to be seen, everybody who didn't want to be on there, when they trot into the office and they put in their complaint, then they can go, oh, phew, at least it will be seen. I wasn't on the side of Paul and Joe, who after all, they got evicted, and Lydia, who got evicted and have to go through all these abuses. Obviously I'm doing it the smart way. Well, you're going to wind up with a show that's probably pretty much useless to watch. Because people want to see something that's going to make their life better, give them some hope, give them some healing. So let me go on and finish the letter. This communication is to serve as a formal warning of an MNN policy violation.
We see it as a threat, not a warning.
If you have any other episodes on file that are in violation, please replace them immediately. Please note that any future violations of MNN policies can result in the suspension of your MNN services, including loss of facility use and program cancellation, which we feel is going to be happening anyway when people are relegated to 1995 and you have IP address discrimination. I told Greg Sutton the other day that Port Authority is not picking up the MNN signal. That's something that Greg should really get right on, because if MNN has unlimited bandwidth, where is the bandwidth going? If it's not available to the producers, who is it being made available to? And who it's being made available to is at the expense of you, the viewer. You're the one that's going to suffer as a result of complete...
And let me jump in again. And this is a direct threat to us, saying, oh, if you take pictures or if you do... if you show the truth to people, to the audience, if you take pictures, and we're gonna cancel your show. Well, you know what? Me and Paula will stand for truth, and we'll take the chance of you canceling us. And if you do, well, then we'll meet you in court, and we will bring our video footage in and show that the rights of the producers are being sabotaged by MNN staff. That meeting was totally the second meeting was totally sabotaged. They eliminated Lydia right away, who was one of the main organizers. Me and Paula happened to show up late, so right away they had new people in there running a new agenda that had nothing to do with the agenda that we had already put in place, with the momentum that we had already had going to protect the rights of the public access producers. And we had one petty little person manipulating other public access producers because she has this tremendous hate for Paula Gloria.
After this show, I don't think it's going to get much better. As far as Marshall Rosenberg, nonviolent communication, and find out where those unmet needs are.
Well, I have not mentioned her name, but she's black. She's got black hair.
Okay, come on.
And all you producers at MNN know the woman that's running around going, Paula Gloria, Paula Gloria, Paula Gloria, Paula Gloria. You know what I mean? Because she's jealous. Paula has a nice personality. Paula is well-liked, and she's not. She has a terrible personality. She's a nasty old witch. And she is. She's a very nasty person, And she's had run-ins and got other people canceled there. And she agitated one woman to the point that the woman wound up, I think, striking her. And then she had her wound up getting thrown off MNN and banned from MNN. And this woman is a real evil person. Okay. And I have not said her name, so you people out there know who she is, and I didn't say her name, so she can't sue me for what I just said, but she knows who she is.
Oh, go ahead and sue him.
Yeah, sue me. Sue me. I love it.
Help us.
Court is my favorite thing. I'm at my best in court.
Right. Or you'll have to help us.
Am I right, Randy?
Or you'll have to help us get our
you're right. You're right.
Or come and help us get our apartment back so you can take part of it in your lawsuit. Okay. Now here's a slightly different letter to Joe, and I want to point out that all of the tension that's going on with the producers have to do with the sucking of equity. They're all anxious. They know that the hard work that they've put in over years is about ready to be taken away. And I think everybody should position themselves where they feel comfortable. I know that there are a lot of really sincere producers who are very aware of the arguments. They understand what Joe and I are doing, but they're not cut out to do it themselves, and that's fine. Everybody finds their place. My point about this...
Familiars. That's the word I was looking for. This witch has familiars. She's got these two guys that whenever she don't like somebody, she sends her familiars. And her familiars attack Paula too, They don't think for themselves. She does all the thinking for these two clowns.
Break. Do you know what a familiar is, Randy? Do you know what it is?
Yeah, what a witch has.
I am...
No, go on.
I am very intimately not involved, but knowledgeable of these sort of character assassinations. One went on against me for about 5 or 10 years out of Brooklyn, and yeah, there. And WBAI has had this. As a matter of fact, when Joe was telling me about this afternoon, I was thinking that some of these people must have been the same people that were involved in what was called the Christmas coup at WBAI, because they had exactly the same modus operandi and exactly the same type of personality. They engaged in personal attacks and isolation, attempting literally in a conspiracy to get other people against you. This is a classic tactic of either those who are cooperating with the powers that be, that don't want what all of us are doing to be cable cast or whatever, if they could possibly screw it up. And this is the same sort of reason why our company that's doing the FM station is structured in a way that nobody can come in and do this. Nobody can come in. If they did this with us, they would be by our charter thrown out of the radio station.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
And the tactics, Felicia just said, these tactics are published during the Clinton administration under what is called the CSAP manual, which comes out of Columbia University, right there nearby. A guy named Joseph Califano. And they published, that's the Center for Substance Abuse Prevention. And they have actually published manuals of all of these kind of cease and destroy insurgents, because we would be the insurgents. And the reason why that tactic was developed back in the late 80s and 90s is it was a part of a war on drugs that everybody knew that they were going to eventually lose, so they had to resort and invent these kind of tactics in order to smear people who were trying to advocate for change. So this is right out of the government manual.
I do think it's more constructive to think about our personal responsibility. It took very little for that meeting to fall apart, other than removing Lidya Radin. She was really the power behind it, the vision. She'd done a lot of footwork. She, collected that piece that came from the city clerk in Flint, Michigan, talking about how he was on the cable advisory committee and how they were being seduced by ComCast and how easily they got swindled. So once she was out of the picture, it fell apart automatically. But in this next letter I'm going to read that's done to Mr. Barton, I want to just sort of have a different viewpoint on this. When you're asking to face your accuser, like if there's some complaints, you have a right to see what those complaints are. Otherwise, there is a possibility that this could be made up simply by a corporation who wants to.
No, we know it's not made
well,
up.
But I'm saying
We know the nasty witch that's behind it. And you know
Joe,
what?
don't go off again.
No, let me do it. No, first of all, I really love Paula very much. And this woman is constantly attacking her and constantly trying to psych people. And, like we had an article, Lydia, when we were fighting our court case about the eviction. Some newspaper people came, and we didn't know they were coming. And they interviewed us at the thing. And then they wanted to follow up on it, and they came home with us.
Just on the day Molly had dropped off a whole bunch of stuff.
Let me finish my story.
Okay.
And so they came home with us, right? And they did this article on us and on the eviction that we were fighting, and they took pictures in the apartment. Now, this woman, the same woman, all she did was say, "Oh, look at that. Paula didn't make the bed." Because it got in one of the pictures and the bed wasn't made. She finds every kind of way to attack Paula. And, I'm sick of it. You are, black-haired lady, you are a witch and a troublemaker, and you've caused trouble for so many people at M&N, and you run around and you yip, 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 behind everybody's back, and you are unproductive. You've got no personality. Paula's a beautiful woman. Paula has brains, which you don't have, and Paula has people that really care about her, which you don't have, and I'm sick of you constantly attacking Paula. So, this is me coming at you. Don't take it out on Paula. Run around and say what a scumbag Joe is. I don't mind.
Okay, so, but what I am saying is after the producers have so much tension among themselves because you're taking the platform upon which they've been standing and you're shrinking it. That's what's happening with IP address discrimination. And we can see over the horizon, we can see where this is going. If you don't really have free speech, anything less than free speech isn't free speech, because it starts with a little censorship and it creeps in and it creeps in. So a policy of a corporation is only the concern of employees within that corporation. We have never been paid by Time Warner. This is the real power and meaning of a non-commercial operation. Our operation, we don't give this message out for money. We give this message out because it's what we were created to do. It's our calling. It's something that's so far beyond money, and that's why shows that are coming up, particularly when we had that big simulcast on Woodstock FM 104, we hooked up with Angela Stark in Los Angeles, with Kate of Gaia up in Canada. We had Earthica Starr in Colorado, and it was being watched by a good friend over the internet of mine, a cousin of a business partner in China. And he's following it very, very carefully. And he also keeps us apprised of the Chinese buying the Federal Reserve.
You had to
and
go
what,
there.
Yeah, and what that will mean. Now that's been talked about for a long time. Who's going to be picking up the debt? There's a difference between picking up the debt to an asset that's actually there. But if fraud is now starting to be pawned off overseas because we can't hold our politicians in check, we can't insist on honest service in the courts, we can't insist that our police go by lawful rules. One police, they ignored a judge's order for me to go back in and pick up my cell phone just for a temporary visit. They ignored that. That means if the police aren't even paying attention to what the courts are ruling, why should we be wasting so much time with them? But we continue doing it because we feel that through our energy, through our faith, through our belief, we will create something of value. So I would say there's two hands that are coming from overseas. One is what Rod Class was talking about with the international courts, that there are judges overseas who realize how we are being, we're like the Jews in the concentration camps here in America. We have to be hauled into court for reasons of no harm parties, just to tap in to our federal trust accounts. These are the things that must be understood by our peers in order for them to be protected. Because what that means is you've got two forces that are going to come internationally. One force is going to come because our debt has been sold off, that the price on our head is now going to be collected by agents overseas who probably will hire the same old scumbag police that don't follow the law. I'm not talking about the people that do follow the law. But if you don't follow the law, you're just going to go along with the highest bidder. And don't even pretend to say that you have any concern about freedom and even democracy. That's not what's going on overseas. But believe me, there's plenty of people overseas who really do love us for our culture, who do love us for our vision. And that's the kind of thing that's been fashioned out through a labor of love, such as Woodstock FM 104. And that's why we had such a spectacular broadcast that went to the darkest levels of foreclosure and bank fraud, but also to the highest levels of what it means to be enlightened and to have a soul that you can take with you through lifetime when all these little petty fraud things have just diminished. They've just gone away. That's how important free speech is. Therefore, Joe's letter is a lot shorter, but you can still see the same highlights. We have received a number of complaints from people informing us that they did not give you permission to cablecast their image on an episode of Pot Talk with Joe Barton, which aired on October 4th, 2014 at 9:30 p.m.
Let me jump in on that again. Again, we don't have to have permission when we're protecting our rights. Eminent, you need to get this straight. Our rights were being violated we were being we have a right, just like if a union, if there's a shop and a bunch of people want to start a union and they start organizing, they have a right to organize. We, the producers, have a right to organize. Now, that right to organize was being sabotaged. We had a right to document that sabotage. So, go ahead.
For your reference, MNN's policy on representation of authorization is as follows. Channel users must represent that they have obtained all necessary permission for material and individuals appearing in their programs. Channel users are required to provide satisfactory evidence of such permission upon request by MNN. This satisfies me.
I don't need your
this doesn't
permission
satisfy
to
me.
protect my rights.
This is very arbitrary.
Yeah.
This communication is to serve as a formal warning of an
As
MNN.
a threat, not a formal warning.
Right.
That's a threat. Either you do what we say, or we're going to cancel your show. Well, you know what? If we can't have free speech and we can't have our rights protected, then cancel us. I don't care. You know what? We'll go on radio and we'll tell the truth, and we will take you to court and we will fight you. And that's what I do. I've been doing it for most of my life, fighting in court. So let's go. Bring it on.
But also, maybe you shouldn't take it so personally, because
when
you know why?
When they attack you, I take it very personal.
Yeah, but this is coming from MNN. They're not attacking me. This communication, well, indirectly, they haven't let me go live for 2 years. I mean, there's so many violations against us. When Alan Steinfeld was at the first meeting, I think that was August 25th or 23rd, Alan was reading from the ACAP bylaws. That's the Association of Cable Access Producers. And practically everything he read, we have been denied. We've been denied ratings. We've been denied fair hearings. We've been denied equal access. You know, you could go on and on. I mean, it was mind-blowing.
And our right to organize has been M&M sabotaged it. And they say, oh, you broadcast, you filmed what was going on there. Well, you know what? They had a camera in the room that we were in, and I am sure that M&N, even though we were the producers having a meeting and we didn't invite M&N and the staff in there, I'm sure that their camera recorded everything that we were doing.
Exactly.
Because they knew to attack Lydia at the next meeting.
And this letter probably came because they knew the juiciest part of the meeting I haven't put out yet, just because I got busy with other things, like evictions.
And we have in case we go to court, we got the juicy stuff still.
Yeah.
We'll play it in court for the judge and the jury.
Once we find a good one. Maybe that will be the international thing. See, that's what I'm saying. There's two hands coming overseas. One hand that really loves us for our culture, for our Yankee ingenuity, for our ability to stand up for freedom, and it appreciates us. And that kind of hand would easily support a bigger endeavor to really have free speech. Because if you look back on what you've gotten, when it hits you, what the implications are of $1 that's valued internally in country, but the international rate is different overseas, when you see what the implications of that is to your lifestyle, trust me, you can only blame the mainstream media. And that's why, pay good attention. But here's why maybe you shouldn't be taking it too personally. This communication is to serve as a formal warning of an MNN programming policy. Fine, it has nothing to do with me. You see what I mean? Right. It's irrelevant. If you have any other episodes on file that are in violation, please replace them immediately. Like says who? Show me the agreement that we have that shows me that I must do this. And otherwise, if there's a harmed party, any one of those people who signed the complaint, trust me, they're not harmed, because they went trotting into you to say, oh, I wasn't anywhere wanting to do anything with Paul and Joe. Therefore, if we're the dangerous element, they're now harmless because they've put their complaint in and you've done your requisite formal warning to us. So, that's all done.
And if any of those people who were filmed feel that they were violated, we welcome them to take us to court.
Or even better, because Kate of Guy is saying that we should grow beyond these courts that aren't worth anything.
Well,
find a judge. Find
That's
some.
Kate of Guy. I don't
Well,
think
I know,
the same as
but
Kate
my
of
point
Guy.
is a real
Not that I
judge.
disagree with some of the stuff
But
she's
Joe,
saying.
a real judge. Find somebody who's neutral and present the case in front of that neutral person. We like to use the court of public opinion. Why would you not want your image to go out unless there was something on it that you were ashamed of or fearful of? Or fearful that maybe MNN is going to see that you're challenging them and they might not give you as nice a position. Trust me, they're not going to give you a nice position anyway because they go to the highest bidder.
And the people who complained weren't standing against MNN,
they're afraid. And it is scary. Let's face it.
Yeah, well,
that's another reason
we want the audience out there. Public access is for the people. It's for you people out there in television land. And we want you people out there in television land to know the truth. We don't hold anything back. We show it. We'll show it to you, whatever it is, good or bad, And that's what public access should be about, keeping the public, you people out there, fully informed of what's going on. And what's going on at MNN is foul. And we've been under attack. Lydia's been under attack. We showed you the thing of Lydia being ejected. For any of you people that follow us all the time, you saw Lydia. Lydia was kept from that meeting because Lydia was organizing that meeting and was organizing the producers. And me and Paula were organizing the producers. And there's a little jealous little clique of people that they don't have the nerve to stand up and even stand up for their own rights or stand up for the rights of the producers, but yet they'd rather punch us in the back of the head because we're standing up. Small-minded people.
But that's kind of human nature. What we want to do is grow beyond that. That's our vision and our hope. So please note that any future violations of MNN policies and code of conduct can result in the suspension of your MNN services, including loss of facility use and program cancellation. This isn't the first time we've been threatened like this.
It probably won't be the last.
And unless we get something going where we feel that we're working together. And I did feel that the last conversation I had with Greg Sutton, that there was some hope for that. Because after all, I know that when XM Sirius was merging, they had us come on. This is before I was with Joe and I was doing the 9/11 Truth. And we got them up to the top of Google May 19th in 2008. And this was because the bank fraud was happening, so they wanted a distraction. And the show that I had later that day, Total Penetration, got 17,000 attempted calls. And so each one of those calls represented a value when Sirius negotiated the deal with XM. I know this because when I had a cellular license and we were selling the license was valued by how many subscribers there were. In my case, each subscriber was worth $17,000. So as MNN sort of comes to what they hope will be the close of the sale, the better the ratings are on MNN, the higher the price will be. But I am begging Greg Sutton to see the wisdom. Let's operate this legitimately and see how much wealth is created that way. And that kind of hand coming from overseas will see that. They will want to support public access. They will want free speech because they'll realize if they're investing in this country, they're going to make a lot more than just casting us out of our homes and collecting the debt that way and then bringing in new people, rather than letting the culture develop, letting it get greater, letting there be more inventions, better software. Have you ever noticed today how things have degenerated on the internet? I have a whole show I want to do on my interaction with Apple ever since I learned about the power of the Crown copyrighted legal name. So what I'm saying is we can go two ways now with this international attention. We can go the Rod Class way, where we bring in, like Nuremberg trials, but real ones, not like fake ones. And we get help and we get solace and relief from being cast into prisons. Or we can go the way where our debt is going to be sold off to, we're going to be even in worse slavery. That's my point. So even eminent staff should see the wisdom of this, and even my detractors, and even the people that Joe's
witch.
so upset about. She was the one that first told me about the co-op scam. She read it in a book when she was working for some wealthy family. She said it was predicted to go into foreclosure, and everything then convolutes into the hands of the landlord. So you better believe I am going to be following up on what's going on with Gramercy Park. But if it had to be a sacrifice to get the Greater Plum, which is public access, so be it.
Okay, and I'd like to tell the witch, call off your, what are they again? I keep forgetting that word. Your familiars. Leave Paula alone. Okay, have a good one from Joe and Paula. Good night.
And you've been watching Pot Talk with Joe Barton. Starring Joe Barton. Tonight also starring Paula Gloria. Well, be sure to tune in next week to this cliquishly attacked public access station for more Pot Talk TV, which is a Manifestation production.